I'm so excited about this one. So I want to do like a geode looking peekaboo, but there's going to be a twist. Not going to reveal the surprise yet, but let's just say it includes crumpled wax paper. I'm excited. I'm going to do a base layer of Brandy on here. So nice epoxy layer, and then blah, blah, blah. Put that on there. And then after that cures, I'm going to throw some clear coat spray paint. And then once that's smooth, completely smooth without any sanding on there, we're going to do a combo of peekaboo and geode. Oops. So this has just the perfect shades of pink, light pink, coral, and darker pink. It's perfect for what look I'm going for. It's going to have a little bit of a mermaid vibe to it. But I'm going to layer these 3 colors of my spray paint. Coral, prickly pear, and then ballet slipper. What I'm going to do is on my base coat, which is most likely going to be this one, I'm going to let that dry. And then I'm going to mostly let this dry, and then I'm going to show you what I need to do with this. But we'll get there in a bit. First, we are going to glitter. I have 5 milliliters. I can't talk sometimes. Mixed up. So if you've seen any of my videos before, you'll already know that this is how I do my chunky glitters. I put about twice as much epoxy on my base than I do for my fines. I don't want it super thin, but I do not literally want it dripping off. And I don't really want it to move. So thick enough, but not overly done. Hopefully that makes sense. When I did my last cup, which was this exact same size cup, I used about 2.5 milliliters to do the whole layer, or the whole base, for a fine glitter. This is going to end up being more like maybe 4. Not exactly double, but that's the gist of it. I'm going to finish doing this, and then we'll throw that glitter on here. I ended up using the whole 5. Not sure why it took so much. I definitely put my shop light on it so it would kind of soften it, make it a little runnier. That might have been part of the problem. It just wasn't spreading very good. So what I'm going to do now is just glitter this whole entire cup. And then I'm going to put my heat lamp on it, because in my experience, this probably doesn't work for everyone. I feel like when the cup stays warm, the glitter like nestles in. Does that make sense? Like settles, I guess is a good word too. That's why I like putting it on so much thicker, is because it just really soaks in, oozes in. And I feel like I get pretty good coverage, and I feel like I get pretty flat results. So I don't really have that many wild ones to go crazy on. And I'll show you in a minute, once I get it kind of turning in front of that light, you'll be able to see how flat everything is. You can kind of already see how flat. I've just got a few wild ones right there, here and there. I'm going to put that, I don't know, like maybe a minute or 2, just enough to kind of warm up the base to be able to show you. So you want to make sure that you didn't miss any spots. If you did, you can either hit it again, or honestly, I keep handy dandy Aquanet around. Sometimes when I'm doing glitter, it just doesn't want to adhere. Just zap it, a little bit of that. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to contaminate that, but I just do that, a little bit on there, and glitter it. I'll typically do that over my trash can. This has been turning for, I don't know, 6 or so minutes. You can see overall it's pretty flat. There are some spots that are still pretty wild. No big deal. I can either tap them down gently, making sure that I get right here especially, and right here, which those tend to be the roughest spots of all to get to lay flat. Or I can let it set just a little bit longer, and then I can wrap it up in parchment paper and kind of roll it that way. Either way will work, but you want to make sure before you do that that your epoxy is pretty close to set up at that point where it's real receptive to something getting pushed into it without it actually sliding around. I don't feel like I need to do that on this one. I have done it many times, but not this time. So I'm just going to pat down these wild ones and walk away. I'll let it turn for maybe another 15 minutes. I'm using fast set, so it really doesn't need to turn for very long at all. But I just need it enough to where the epoxy will set up and not move on me and make icky spots and drips. We're in a pretty good place here so far. I've just got a few spots that really need to be addressed, like right there, before we go any further. So what this means is a sanding to get that smooth. Sometimes if they're sticking out like a really obvious piece, like this one right here, I can't really see it. Sometimes I'll hit it with the razor blade. Maybe that angle is better. Anyways, so I'll hit it sometimes with a razor blade, but any bumps and lumps that you have now are going to show through for sure. I've learned from that mistake many, many times. What we're going to do to it later will camouflage minor lumps and bumps, but like right here, you can kind of see it at that angle. There and there, it's not smooth enough. So I'm going to sand this down. I'm going to go wet sand it. This has not been used properly. It's a wet sanding block. I've not been using it wet. So I'm going to go sand that down, smooth it out, and then I'm going to put another decent layer of epoxy over there so that it really gives us a nice smooth surface. Okay, we have a nice smooth surface here. I've got removable vinyl here. Almost couldn't get that word out of my mouth. You can see where I have little extra pieces. These are the pieces that I weeded out of like the starfish and the lettering. This is so that I can find it under the spray paint. These little pieces I think might give me trouble. I'm hoping not, but we'll see. These I think will be okay, so I did not do anything there. But because I can't even spray paint right now anyways, because it's like rainy and super gross, I'm going to go ahead and get either my glue gun or my little tube of E6000 or whatever glue I have hanging around, and just put a little something here on these, at least a couple of pieces so I can find them. That way I'm not blindly digging around looking for them. This I know is going to give me some trouble because it's so small, and this removable vinyl is not... Can't get that word out of my mouth without my lips like just sticking together. I think it's going to give me trouble because this is the Cricut removable and it's not that good. That kind of shreds, but I think it'll be okay. So here is what we look like right now. I've just got it kind of splotchy here. I wanted to leave a space where I could put a name like here or something like that. Plus, with what I'm going to do to the spray paint, it won't look just bare and solid, and like it'll have something going on. But I didn't want too many mermaid scales because I don't want them overtaking the whole cup. But like I said, I wanted to leave a little spot there. I love this little SVG. I just got it on Etsy. I just looked for mermaid tail, and that came up and it was super cute, and the letters weren't so tiny. There was another one that had a cute design, but the letters were super small. So since I can't really do anything, like I said, I'm just going to throw some stuff on here, and we will spray paint. I'm hoping tomorrow will be better weather. It might be a couple of days though. A wise man once said, back to the old drawing board. People my age or older are going to get that. So I ended up having to strip this whole thing. I had placed the Cricut vinyl, that yellow removable. For one, it was kind of a nightmare to remove. This is what that looked like there. And two, that color of paint is not a big enough contrast for the stuff to be even legible. The scales you could see really easily, but the other, it was really bad. So I've got Oracle 631 now. And they also gave me the opportunity to resand because I had really missed some spots here and they really, really jumped out. Just for giggles, I'll actually put a little clip of that last attempt on the end of this video. It was bad. I also decided to make this decal just a skosh bigger. Maybe like 3/4 of an inch taller because I've got plenty of room. It just, I think it'll make it a little easier to read also. So we'll see. So now I'm just going to continue. My epoxy's kind of sticky now because of all the acetone I had to use. So now I'm just going to finish placing the little scales. Good grief. This is that Cricut transfer tape. It's different. It's okay. It's not that great as far as the durability, but the stickiness is maybe a little too much. Oh, gravy. Okay, so I'm gonna finish placing the scales and then I'll show you what's next. I'm getting ready to run outside and spray paint the first layer, which I am gonna let dry before doing the next part. So here's how we look so far. And then I threw a little peekaboo here. I had messed this one up earlier, so why not use it? I just trimmed that instead of having the scalloped edges right there. Earlier I was saying this was sticky. It's not because of the epoxy, it's because I had to really go to town with it, cleaning off the spray paint with acetone, and that always makes it feel really weird afterwards. But anyways, it'll be good after we recoat everything. I also said geode at the beginning of the video. That's not entirely accurate. I was going to do some bare spots, like where you rub it open, like the Jurassic Park ones. But I am not going to do that on this anymore. So this is actually just a straight peekaboo. So let's go do that first layer of paint. Here's what our base looks like. You can see the vinyl pretty good. The first time I did this, I had put a little glue dot on each of those pieces. Most of the pieces. It was a waste. I didn't need it. So I'm going to do a layer of coral. It's windy, so I'm in like a weird spot. There's not really much airflow right now. I'm probably getting paint all over my phone. That's okay. It comes off. So I've got good coverage there. And I did not realize I didn't have gloss white, so I'm having to use flat white. Missed a spot. Okay, that's pretty good coverage there. So now I'm gonna quickly go over it with the white. I guess the advantage of having this matte or flat, whatever, flat, is it's less likely to run. But I feel like it is more likely to dry quicker than I want it to. I should really be wearing a mask right now. Luckily it's floating mostly away from me. perfect scenario, this wouldn't take so long. That's okay. We're going to roll with it. Now, we're going to take crumpled wax paper and just break it up. Especially kind of pay attention to the spots that maybe are a little lumpier. Letting that bottom layer dry is good because now the coral and the pink are both peekabooing. You just don't want to overdo it. But there we are there. That white is going to be a lot easier since it's majority of it. So now I'm going to go inside and we are going to lift these pieces of vinyl very carefully. there's paint all over, you guys. We're going to lift this vinyl very carefully while the paint is still damp. It'll be less likely to mess up the edges. It'll be a lot cleaner. I let this dry just a teensy bit. And now we are going to very carefully and tediously lift up these pieces. I normally use my weeding pen, but I feel like this is a little stressful for it maybe. So it's the tool that I got at the Dollar Tree not too long ago. And when I say tediously, I'm not exaggerating. Okay, there's one nice and clean right there. We're just going to continue on. I'm not going to record that because that is a whole lot of patiently waiting. But you get the gist of it. So we're going to do that very carefully without smearing the paint. I'm just going to take all the pieces off. Oh my gosh, my eyes are crossed now. I have a couple of little stacks of this. I'll be honest, that Oracle 651 wasn't that much easier to pull off than the Cricut removable vinyl was. But here's what we look like now. I've just got a spot or two that I'm going to have to clean up with a razor blade just because the paint just didn't play nice. But overall, it's pretty cute. I apologize for the shaking camera, y'all. This is one of those mounted to the wall tripod or camera holders, whatever. So I'm going to let this dry completely, and then I'll just come through with either something like this to kind of scratch the paint to a sharper finish, or I hit it with my razor blade. I got all kinds of options, but overall, it's pretty cute. It's definitely easier to read with this white base layer than the one I'm going to show you in just a second. I gotta figure out what that is. The other one with the coral on top, it was so difficult to read. It was pretty, but it was so difficult. Before I wrap up, I'm going to throw a layer of epoxy on here just to show you guys. I got this new additive. It's kind of like what I use all the time from Frans called Cosmic, but it's gold flecks instead. So I think that'll be really nice to have with certain color combinations. But I just want to show y'all. I get a little bit of this on here. It's called Smog. I'm not hardcore into Lord of the Rings, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But you can kind of see that just a little bit. Just adds a little bit to it, a little something extra. I think that'll really help, but this is what it looks like. And I actually have a custom link now for Feather Bear. It'll get you 10% off of your order. I do get a commission, just to be upfront and clear. I do get a commission on those links, but you get a 10% coupon. They just started a new program recently. And then for the base here, I've got Brandy. Just a recap. That is from Frans, which you can see right there. And I've got a coupon for her shop as well. That's for new customers. I think the Feather Bear one is also for new customers. I should have cleared that up, but I don't remember that coming up in any of our conversations. On the Frans coupon, I do get $5 off that too, but I don't ever use those coupons. So just being upfront with you guys. I think y'all already know most of that anyways. But that's all I'm going to do to this. I'm just going to put a nice, decent layer. I love how shimmery that is. I don't think that the video really does it justice. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to spray it with some 90% alcohol that I have in here to help pop those bubbles. That does not work on fast set, which I learned the hard way because I ruined a finish, but it's great on the regular set. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and y'all have a good one. All right, here's my original. It's definitely a huge contrast difference using the lighter paint, but that's the advantage of epoxy in between. You get to just take that off.